All right, it's morning huddle time. Good morning.
No, I'm not saying it works.
I wish you
I'm just saying
Godspeed.
it happens.
I Godspeed with all of that. I think that's really, really nice. I'm not sure what kind of success you're going to have with that today, because the world, my friend, has changed.
Right. Latin American construction workers, they have different needs. They have completely different needs.
These awards have a huge criteria that you have to fill out, and they usually have a community service or community relations portion.
Makes them, the most productive with a high performance value, and sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it? Yeah, not for me.
Not for me.
At 11 o'clock, I am guaranteed to be snoring. So. It is afternoon huddle time.
Yep.
We're here for a special episode of the morning huddle, which we're holding down at the National Mall at the Holiday Inn for the NAWIC, which is the National Association of Women in Construction's Spring Forum, Northeast Spring Forum. We're hanging out with a whole bunch of people who are going to stop by and visit us today to talk about the program here, what's happening with NAWIC, talk about their stories, all that fun stuff. And so the first person that we have joining us is Heather Groves. Heather is the Northeast Regional Director of NAWIC. And I started off by saying, Heather, is this your full-time gig?
And I laughed and said, no, I'm a volunteer.
Which is impressive, because you make it look like something that is really a full-time gig. So
I have a huge support team behind me that many hands make light work. So it makes it very easy. So, and it's a good support system behind me, so that helps.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, first off, give some context to our audience, who you are, what you do, how long you've been involved with NAWIC, outside of all the other stuff that you do. Give us a sense of that.
So, like you said, my name is Heather. I am from Maine, born and raised in New England, I'll say, because we moved around a lot when I was a kid. But it really got started with my dad. So mom and dad got divorced when I was little, and dad had a construction company, a small residential construction company. So whenever I went to hang out with dad, I was riding in the dump truck, or I was playing in the mini loader or the backhoe. So it really kind of started from a very young age. And it just kind of continued from there. I decided to go to school for construction management. From there, I went and worked for a couple of contractors, and then I went and did the other side and worked for the state of Maine. And did kind of some inspection work there.
Awesome.
And I saw that I did not want to be on the contractor side. It was too much physical labor for me. So I decided to stay with the inspection side of things and the design. And in 2018, I was able to open my own firm, Cole River Consultants. Cole River, actually coming from my dad, his company's name was Cole River Transportation. So I kind of stole a little bit from dad there. And I'm going on my 5th contract with the Maine Department of Transportation.
That's awesome.
And I do this for fun on the side.
Yeah. You have a strange definition of fun.
No,
I'm joking.
it's all about the women. It's all about the women and the connections. We say we come for, the education and the forums and all of that, but really we stay for the women, because we fall in love with the people who are there, who support us, who call us out. It's that network that we have that's nationwide. Because NAWIC is not just in the Northeast, it is all across the U.S. We also have affiliates in Canada, in South Africa. We have 118 chapters nationally and about 5,600 members.
Wow.
Yeah. So on the
I had
Northeast
no
region
idea it
level,
was like that.
I just met someone yesterday that said, I just joined NAWIC. I just heard about it. There's still, we need more.
There's untapped.
attention.
Yeah, there's untapped potential. No, it's true. And I have clients all over the country, and I'll bring up different associations that I suggest they get involved with, and NAWIC is frequently one where people are like, oh, I didn't even, and so there's a lot of untapped potential.
we joke about how we're the best kept secret in the construction industry, because because we are all volunteer. That makes us unique. We're not like the big AGCs or the ABCs where they have staff, and they have executive directors in every state. Yeah. So they have somebody that can plan all of these things. We're completely volunteer. We do have a staff of about 8 at our head office in Texas. But our entire national board is all the way up to our president is volunteer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's kind of what makes us unique.
So talk a little bit about the history of NAWIC, what NAWIC is here to do.
Yeah.
And, just orient the audience to the mission.
Excuse me. NAWIC was originally formed in the 50s by 17 women in Texas. It has since grown immensely. I think over the years between the 50s and now, mind you, chapters have come and gone, but we've chartered 393 chapters.
Wow.
Over those 70 years. We're still at 118 because some have, like I said, come and gone. Right. Some have just combined because they were too small.
Yeah.
It really just kind of comes back to that membership. And what's the mission? Talk about the mission. Yeah. So it's really to educate and support women in the industry. If I had been a little more prepared, I would have brought my mission statement.
It's all good.
But I did not bring my mission statement.
You can take all the frills off of it and get right to the point.
No,
that's what it's really about. Right?
It is. It's about supporting and encouraging women in the industry and making sure that we have what we need, which really is a support network more than anything most of the time.
And when you say in the industry, is it just construction, or do we have architects, engineers, manufacturers?
We have everything.
Okay.
We have women who are plumbers. We have women who work in accounts payable, women who work in contracts. We have business owners. We have everything from the bottom up, all the way to the top. So, and that can be anything. It can be roads. It can be buildings. It can be bridges. Anything that involves construction in one way or another, we absolutely invite you to join us.
What's a NAWIC success story for you? Like, how it's impacted your world in a positive way? Like, share maybe something about how this involvement has really been helpful for you in your construction career.
Yeah. So we kind of joke because I say that I am a product of NAWIC. When I started back in 2013, I was still young. I had the big chip on my shoulder. I was going to take on the world. And then the construction world knocked me on my ass, of course. It said, wait a minute. No. You need to earn your dues. Excuse me. And it was really within NAWIC that I learned how to step up and be a leader and speak for myself and do more public speaking. So really, and then when it came time to start my business, I had friends that I could call and say, hey, look, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you have for advice or encouragement? And really that's where I've gotten to today, is to be director, because I had those women kind of pushing me along saying, hey, you can do more than this. Please try harder, and they won't let you fail. NAWIC is a great place to start something new and know that they won't let you fail. So it's wonderful.
That sounds really wonderful.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, it's one thing to have we all have, I hope, have our friend, that beeping. It's finally ceased. It's my God. We're very sorry for the beep.
If you could hear it.
If you could hear it, I really hope you. And if you couldn't, then I look kind of crazy. We all have, I hope, kind of like our friends and our personal support group and those people in our lives that are rooting for us and want us to be successful. But you know what they don't typically have in common is they're not in our industry. They're not working alongside us. They're not actually walking our walk. Right. They're not experiencing exactly. So they're just kind of like vaguely positive.
Yes. They're like, oh, you're doing a good job, but I have no idea what you do.
Right. I don't know what you do. Yeah. So entering into a professional network where really the whole focus is a support system.
Yeah.
Sounds like a big warm hug. It sounds really, really nice.
Yeah. And even if we're not, in the same, like I do roads and say you do buildings, you and I can still call and talk about how the project managers
right.
didn't treat us right that day.
Right.
It's one of those things where we have somebody that we can call and they know what we're going through. They've been there, they've experienced it. They can say, oh my God, I'm really sorry. This is what happened to me, and this is what I did in that scenario.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is there any? So I would imagine there's lots and lots of natural mentorship that's happening inside NAWIC, right? With the just between members. Is there anything formal happening in terms of mentorship inside NAWIC?
So we do have an official NAWIC mentoring program that you can absolutely go through everything and do as a program. But a lot of mine has become natural. It's all flowed very naturally. And I don't like to think of it so much as a mentorship as a sponsorship. because they're putting their neck on the line for me, and I'm going to return and do the same favor for them.
Yeah.
And that's really what I have found within this industry is that they're not just mentors. Sure, they can call and talk to you, but they're willing to help you. They're willing to say, hey, look, I've got this connection over here. Let's see if we can make this work.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think that's what's even better is we're more than mentors.
Can you actually think of scenarios where it's helped you to grow your business, where you've made new connections and things like that?
I haven't personally, but I know that women have.
Yeah.
I know women have sat in interviews and they see the National Association of Women in Construction on their resume and they say, oh, I know so-and-so from this company. Do you know them? And I can say, yes, I do. In fact, it has given women a leg up on getting jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as networks do.
Yeah.
Relationships matter.
Yep. And it's not just jobs, but in some of that mentoringship that we've talked about, there was one woman in my chapter who said, you know what, I've had enough of my company. Please help me talk through another one. And we did. She set up the interview. She got all of that for her, and we helped her with the prep. And when she came out of it, she goes, I have more benefits. I have more money. I have more vacation time. Thank you.
That's awesome.
So it's one of those things that,
So what are we here to do over the next 2 days? Like what's happening today and tomorrow?
Yeah, so today and tomorrow, this morning we had our opening remarks. This afternoon we're going to do some fun NAWIC trivia. And then we have a tour of the Air and Space Museum construction that's going on. So we're very, very excited about that.
Do you know the GC on that?
I do not know the GC. Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
We're guessing on
guessing,
live
yeah.
LinkedIn program.
I'm not sure.
We're sorry if it's not anybody, but let's pretend it's consigli and we move. Yeah.
Perfect. So we're very excited about that. We do have our awards gala this evening where we're recognizing 3 women who have really stepped up in our region. So we have those 3 awards going out this evening.
Awesome. What types of awards?
Yeah.
So we have Member of the Year,
Cool.
Lifetime Achievement Award, and Future Leader of the Year.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and these are all awards that we have on the national level as well. So if you win on the regional level, we automatically submit you to national, but we also encourage anybody who submitted for regional to also submit for national.
That's awesome.
Because you've done all the work.
Yeah.
Just send it to one more person.
So there's some education going on in the the site tour. I'm assuming right there's going to be learning and just also fun because construction nerds like.
Yes, we love all of the things.
Why not?
Yeah.
I do the same. And then some celebration, recognition, and then what's on tap for tomorrow?
And then tap for tomorrow. I think I'm going to speak to you tomorrow morning.
That's
I
happening.
think you are coming to talk to me. And then we have a great panel discussion lined up with some women, to talk about what makes it easier for us and what we can do differently. And then we're going to end our day with Jessica Murphy. She's a lawyer from Greater Worcester area in Massachusetts. She's going to give us some backstory on Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So, and fun fact, Jess was actually, she is a lawyer. She is a judge. She did something with Ruth Bader. I believe she installed Jessie.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a very, very big deal. It's a very, very close connection. It's actually funny because her daughter for Halloween one year dressed up as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she was so cute with her. It was adorable.
Their little robe.
So yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. So it was exciting.
So tomorrow morning I'm having and you and I have talked about this leading up to it. And I have to tell you, the conversation that we had leading up to it helped me to focus and center my approach to this audience. And the hope is to inspire the audience with ideas for how they can drive change where they see the need for change. And really what I'll be doing is just sharing my personal experiences doing that as an outsider, as a consultant, as somebody who gets brought in to fix stuff, and basically to say look, this is what I've been doing, and hopefully pass along some value to the group to be able to kind of steal tips and tricks from a consultant on how we successfully drive change. So. Well, this has been a good conversation. Great to get to know you.
I appreciate it, guys. I really do.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are we talking to next?
I think the lovely Doreen Bartoldus.
Oh my gosh.
She just walked by. She said she'd be back in just a minute.
Awesome.
But I can give you a little bit of history on her before she gets here.
Yeah, sure.
She is a member of the Greater New York chapter. She is our immediate past national president. So she is a dynamo. She's a dynamo. You guys are gonna love her, and I can't wait for you to talk to her. So thank you very much.
No, my
I
gosh.
greatly appreciate it, and I will slide out of the way so
Very
someone else
good, yeah.
can slide in.
I'll lift my leg.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Okay.
Welcome. We are live.
Wow.
Join the party.
Glad to be here.
What's happening?
An awesome conference so far.
Yeah, so far so
great.
good.
Well, we talked about having Doreen, so.
No, this is Nicole.
Nicole.
Yeah, this is
Hey,
Nicole.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
We asked. It's all
Doreen
good.
had just walked by. So.
Doreen had just walked by and she went like this, and so we thought that she was coming up
over.
next. And so, in fact, you are correct. You are on time.
Okay.
And I
was
mean,
gonna say.
particularly on time. Not surprising for a general contractor. Well done. So this is Nicole Coates. Nicole is with Clark Construction and also is the chapter president
Yeah.
here in DC
Yeah.
of NAWIC. How long have you been in that role?
Well, at our chapter, we have 1 year of term.
Okay,
we have
cool.
a president-elect. So I was president-elect last year. So for 1 full year, I was president-elect, and then I do 1 full year as president. And then I'll be on the board as the immediate past president. So technically, I serve on the board for at least 3
Right.
years.
Okay.
And then, but prior to that, before you can become president-elect, you have to serve on the board and in one of the other positions.
Right on.
So,
Yeah.
So far, I mean, like, what have been the highlights of your experience being chapter president? Like what, and maybe leading up to that, and but overall.
yeah. So the DC chapter, we're chapter 67, and if you were in this morning, there's a lot of explanation on where the number comes from associated with your chapter. For DC, for all the chapters, it identifies when you became a chapter, what number chapter in the country you are. So NAWIC is celebrating 70 years this year.
Wow.
And with that, DC chapter is celebrating our 60th year. This has been our 60th year. 2022 to 2023 is our 60th year. So on the 18th of this month, May, we will turn 61. So we'll be hosting an event at Dacha Beer Garden for all of our members and anyone interested in becoming a member.
Cool.
But it'll be great. That's in the DC area here. It is all on our website, and I actually also posted it to our LinkedIn as well. So it's gonna be a great event.
I've been there once. It's a lovely outside.
Yeah,
kind of.
It's got
vibe.
great art and
Yeah.
all kinds of good vibes, and yeah, it's gonna be. Hopefully, weather's gonna be great for us.
Yeah.
So. It's been a little rainy.
It has been
It's
a weird
little-
May, though. I just read about this El Nino's coming, and we're going to end
Uh-huh.
up having hotter, wetter conditions
Okay.
into the summer. Though there's your weather knowledge for the day. There's your weather knowledge.
I think this is probably as good as any other weatherman.
Probably true. That's probably true. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like,
Yeah.
what's your clearly your her story.
Yeah.
My
That's what
story.
Yeah.
So, I have been in the construction industry for my entire life. And here today, both my parents are going to be at the gala this evening.
Oh my gosh.
My mom's here at the conference, but my parents have run their own construction company for the last 42 years.
What do they do?
They live in New Hampshire, and they build second homes, renovate, maintain. So there's a whole operations maintenance side to what my parents do. And yeah, my mom was just talking about how they're booked literally for the next year and a half with work to do. And they'll be building a new home this fall. It will break ground.
So did you work under the family business at all?
When I was in high school, I learned how to drive on a F-350 dump truck, and I learned how to sheetrock. And my at my own home, now I've taken all those talents and applied them there, and renovating bathrooms and things of that nature. When I've lived in a couple of different homes over the years, but leaky toilets and stuff like that, it has to be a really far gone situation before I'll sub it out to somebody, right? I'll just be like, let's take apart the toilet. Oh, just shut off the water to the toilet and let's fix it. Like, take it apart. Yeah. No big deal. But
So you're considerably more capable than most people that we would possibly meet. Got it.
So I went into architecture school, and my calculus teacher was the one that said, well, Nicole, you should obviously look at architecture. Your dad's in construction, and you love buildings because you went on a senior class trip and all you took pictures of was buildings and not actual people. And I was like, yeah, well, buildings are terribly interesting. So at any rate, I went to school for architecture, got a master's in architecture at Roger Williams University, and then I have a minor in construction management from them and visual arts. I proceeded to work for Brown University while I was getting my master's. I worked in the facilities maintenance department.
Oh, cool.
And I literally walked all their dormitories during the summer and marked them up, created punch lists, and then I wrote small contracts. It's where I learned how to write contracts and RFPs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. My interview with the director of their facilities management operations, like, why do you, as a young girl in architecture, would you want to come work in our facilities maintenance department? And I was like, well, because I'm designing for what somebody has to put into operation. So I want to learn about how I can do it better, all that kind of stuff.
An architect that's actually thinking about the maintenance of the building. That's a great way to start.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that, and I ended up after going to work for an architecture firm, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Mm-hmm. You get an architecture degree, go work in an architecture firm. I did that and drew the Rhode Island State Police headquarters and E911 facility and the Rhode Island School for the Deaf projects. And then the company had a turn down. I ended up laid off, but the owner's representative on both those jobs handed me his card on his way out of the building on my last day and said, call me tomorrow. And so I went into owner's representative services, and that was just amazing. Delivering on projects on the owner's behalf was great. He had mostly the state as his client, and Bill Marchetti, he was just amazing, taught me so much. And so much so, and gave me my own voice, that the state hired me directly. They offered me a job and said, come work for us directly. And so I worked for the Division of Capital Projects for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow. And so you've been on the government side.
So I was on the government side.
Oh, my Lord.
I got to turn the tables on the architecture firm that I worked for at the same time and tell them, no, I don't like that. That's not going to work for the state's client. So it was one of those interesting scenarios.
It had to be
how life works.
Yeah.
It had to be somewhat satisfying.
It was a little satisfying.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, if it felt too good, you knew you were doing it wrong. You had to, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was great. I had a great relationship with the Rhode Island State Police. And I got to see their building go up. So not only did I draw their building, and I drew what became their holiday ornament. DC, you can get the holiday ornaments from the White House, right? Well, Rhode Island State Police do something similar. You can pick up a lot of facilities do this, but you could pick up their ornament, and I drew their ornament for the year that the building opened. And they I did a lot of state police facilities for them. We looked at all the barracks in Rhode Island, and it was a really great team of individuals to work for.
So all this time in New England.
And then my husband wanted to get his PhD. So we picked up and moved 1 month postpartum with our first child. Yep. And
like a new nursery.
There we go.
Yeah,
Here we go.
My wife would have actually loved that. She'd have been like, second nursery project. This is amazing. She would have gotten stoked.
So it was good. We moved down here, and I took that as an opportunity to try another side of the table. And I had networked and ended up having a phone call with Jim Kincaid from Clark Construction Group. And Jim and I had a great talk. And next couple weeks later, I was in HR and offered a position with the company.
Nice.
And it was great. And I've worked for Clark now for 7.5 years.
Wow.
It's a great company. We, in the last few years, have started employee resource groups, and the Women's Insight Network is just amazing. We have several different DE&I programs and employee resource groups that just really connect with our employees. So it's fabulous.
It's so pluses and minuses, right, of working at large firms. But when you're working in a big company like Clark, the especially ones that have the ability, and it sounds like they do have the ability to leverage their size for good, internally.
Absolutely.
And say, how can we surround our people with more support organically? It's right here.
Yeah.
So I'm actually interested in that. So from a DE&I perspective, what have been the meaningful initiatives or outcomes or things that you feel like have made a difference in that business? I'm putting you on the spot totally, so I apologize. She looking at me like, yeah. But maybe, what would you say have been meaningful outcomes of that?
So we are, I guess, 3.5 years in since, or 3 years in since we really got the employee resource groups off the ground. Last year, the Pride Parade here in DC, we had a truck with our team from across the country. Everyone came down into DC, and we had an amazing time. LEAP, our group they found it really. They were the first group within Clark, and I am a proud ally to that group. Yeah. And everything that they represent and their ability to just bring perspective to everyone in the company, I think was a huge aspect for their achievements. And then WIN came along, and we've spearheaded the top.
You say WIN?
Yeah. WIN, right? Women's Insight Network.
Got it. That's
needed
Network.
An acronym that fulfilled what women stand for.
I mean, it's a pretty strong acronym.
Yeah. WIN. We're in it to win it. And so we've created a couple of different initiatives. One based off of family resources, giving a real voice. It's not just HR, right? And it's not just HR's responsibility, right? Family, your team, you spend more time with your team on a regular basis on your projects probably than you do at home. And in order to have a good work-life balance, you need to have the team be supportive of that. And so the Family Support Resource Group, one, helps connect our people with HR, with the resources that we have. It gives them a point where they can easily find it on our internal kind of network page, intranet page. Yeah. But also we've initiated a program for leave, right? And Family Support Resources is like their goals, and their long-reaching goals are very long. But our immediate thing that we wanted to address was the nursing mother, the returning mother from work. The fact that job sites aren't prepared for a nursing mother to return back to the office.
Yep.
And, there's stories of, women pumping in cars, and just not ideal situations for what you want to have to handle when you're coming back and trying to transition the fact that you have a new family member in your life. And not only that, body image on site. And so, and the fact that the conversation's hard. Not a lot of men are very comfortable in talking about breastfeeding.
I'm fine.
Okay, Jack.
I have 3 young kids.
I did. Yeah, three. I had 3.
And in some cases, it's a generational.
No, but you're not. Obviously, you're right.
But
obviously, you're right.
It's a hard conversation to have, and the onus has typically been on the woman to just figure it out, and we're trying to change that. And so, one, we've talked about that letter that should come back from your supervisor that says, "Hey, you're coming back. What are the things that we need to do for you? Here's the conversations. Let's have a conversation so that your first day, coming back from maternity leave is successful." And
it's a huge life change.
It's a huge life change.
Huge adjustment.
Right. And the other thing about the Family Support Resource Group is that, yes, that's one of our first initiatives, right? But we have plans for so many others because, family is not just new parents, right?
Yep, it's not just the infant.
Right. It's not just the infant. We also partnered with LEAP and we did a whole session on the alternative methods for starting a family, from adoption to surrogates and those kinds of conversations, which was great because families are different no matter how you look at them. Sometimes you end up with nieces and nephews that become your responsibility. There's the adult care, the parents that you have to take care of, or the spouse. And those are the other initiatives that Family Support Resources hopes to support at the company. And that's one of those things that is coming out of our DE&I with WIN. We also have HALA, our Hispanic group, and they
we have another acronym.
Yeah, I know.
Did most of these organizations come out during COVID? Like a lot of people
That's a really good question.
So HALA just got created. And I will say that it was pre-COVID that we started the conversations about the other two, getting them organized, the organizing committee. I was on the organizing committee for WIN. And then I was our Mid-Atlantic chapters, because as Clark is a national company, we have regions and chapters, and we organized our employee resource groups in a similar way, especially the women's group, where we were immediately like 300 and some odd members strong within the company. And so we had to come up with a way so we have a national board within our organization, and then we have the chapter levels that manage the chapter participation. And that was kind of a suggestion that I made based off of NAWIC and my involvement in NAWIC, because by the time WIN came along, I had already been a member of NAWIC for several years. And
has Clark been a member of NAWIC like for a long time, or
is it companies or individuals? I think.
It's individuals.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It is individuals.
So do you just approach Clark and just say you want to be involved in something like that? Like, how does that?
So at one of my goal sessions with my leadership at the time, I said, I've determined that I'm joining NAWIC. And they go, "What's NAWIC?" And I was like, "It's the National Association of Women in Construction." I kind of had to explain it out, but I told them why. One, I said, there's just not enough. I work with all men. And I need mentorship and training at a different level. And NAWIC has made that possible for me. I'm also a member of Women in Construction DC, which is a separate organization from NAWIC, and I'm part of their mentorship group there. So at NAWIC, I have some informal mentors, but at WIC, they have a formal program. So I have formal mentors that are above me, not peer set type mentorship kind of programs. So
cool.
It's great.
Yeah.
And so, these organizations, they offered something at the time. Clark didn't have employee resource groups. We didn't have them. And another thing that Clark Wind Group did was create a mentorship program, which has been hugely successful, especially for the incoming engineers to hear that.
I can only imagine.
How do you not want to work for a company that has a mentorship program already set up for you? That's huge. Yeah. Having that mentorship relationship where someone is invested in your career, that's not your direct report, that's not your boss, right? That's very different and hugely important.
And I didn't mean to cut you off. Back to the Hispanic.
Oh, so one of the great things about Huddle is, one, they're offering up to teach Spanish to, the rest of us who are, I don't want to use the term ignorant, but have a lot going on in our lives that learning a second language is not there.
What a useful tool in this industry. What a useful tool in life in general.
They created this great library of construction words, right, to translate into Spanish. And I printed it out immediately, put it up at my desk, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at the things that I'm learning on a regular basis now. And it's just a huge tool to have there for our team. And we
had a guy, Oscar, come on our podcast, and he has a tool now, and he's now working with AI where it's called Need to Say. It's an app, but it has all the construction vocabulary, and it can translate in pretty much, I think, any language, definitely Spanish. But you can talk to your internal team through chat and everything, and it just automatically translates.
That's great.
It is. It's awesome.
And
He's working with general contractors to follow that. Right?
That's awesome.
It has a bunch of other cool features coming out too.
We should introduce you. You could connect them to the Hala folks. I bet you that there would be connectivity there.
Absolutely. And I think with Safety Week coming up, stuff like that. Safety is the number one concern out on a construction site, right?
And a gap in language is a real risk.
It is a real risk.
Yeah.
Real. And so that's one of those things that we have to think about, and
absolutely
that translation. And it's always hard, especially when you're going out there and you want to explain, oh, there's a safety hazard here, and if the person on the other end doesn't understand, it's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this, and I don't know that I don't know that anybody does at the moment. Honestly, but I have seen such a disturbing amount of really awesome women either leave their project management roles or leave the construction industry altogether because of challenges balancing childcare, and the fact that that people inside your organization are talking about family and talking about how to. And I don't know that you've right. You've arrived at some initiatives, but I gotta say, I am. There's a lot of focus on, and I think reasonably so. There's a lot of focus on creating, equality and sort of saying like, well, hold on, what about the women that don't have children? Are we going to offer them the same benefits that we're offering women who do have children? What about all the men? And what about And from my perspective, just again, outside looking in and working with all these companies, I don't mean to minimize all those problems, but I keep on raising the one huge one, which is like, you have these amazing people and you're not engaging them in a conversation about how to make it work. And I do think that until such time as we figured out the solution, the actual universal solve, which I don't know if that'll ever happen, but let's pretend it could. Until such time, we should at least be flexible and working with people on a one-off basis to figure out what they need and trying to foster cultures where people aren't keeping score about that or
Yeah,
something,
definitely.
but that is so hard. So comment.
Well, chat. So yeah, I mean, it is hard. I think one of the number one questions that I have gotten from younger women who are on that verge of, I just got engaged, or you know, like, how am I going to make it work? Especially those that want to go on take the role, not on the project management side, but
superintendent.
on the superintendent
Absolutely.
route,
And I shouldn't have left that out. I didn't
want to be on that superintendent
Absolutely.
route. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But there are women that make it work. And I will tell you that one, I've met their partners, and their partners are amazing and helpful, and they came up with solutions together. But I think there's solutions, and it also not being afraid to have the conversation with your direct report. And if you don't feel like they're listening, going to the next person. We are a networked company. There are, especially now with the employee resource groups, that if you're not feeling heard, there's someone you can go to have this conversation with. And I think that's the best thing about what Clark's done with the employee resource groups is it's given the employees the ability to have a safe space to talk about things that aren't going necessarily right for them, whether it be at their job site or somewhere else, but or in their life, right? And say, how am I going to do this? I'm like really struggling balancing work and life, or and getting that perspective.
Meeting the project schedules, is that what they're struggling with the most?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the hours, right? I mean, we put in a lot lot of hours, and
are you expected to be on the job sites on the project? Obviously, on the superintendent side, you are expected to be on the job sites. Are project managers at Clark expected to be on the job site? And that's kind of like a best practice, right? Like it does work. It's smart. It does. It improves communication, and it improves, I think, the overall product. There's good proven.
I mean, we just heard Deputy Mayor Lucinda Barbs talk about the fact that it's communication, the 3 C's: communication, right? So she was absolutely right in that we work better when we're communicating efficiently, effectively, and that works best when we're all together on the job sites. That collaborative, hive mind situation that happens, right? You solve problems. I mean, number one thing that happens out on the job on a day-to-day basis is a fire, right? So it's not an actual fire, but the million of issues that come up because material didn't show up on time, or it got damaged, or something happened. Yeah. And, superintendents spend a lot of time handling that. But there's a way to make it work. And it is, having those communications.
What you talk about with a partner.
Yeah.
But again, what about if you don't have a partner? Lord Almighty, just the complexity with all of this, and the bottom line is that I for one have seen really over the past 10 years. I've been involved in the construction industry for 15, and over the past 10 years, I have really seen a notable, valuable, powerful difference in more women in construction. It has been awesome, and it's been. It's making a difference at every level in terms of quality of communication. Women are just simply better at it. They are, and it's just, and also I think that what's the right word? Like the culture. It has been a positive, but we're not where we need to be, and that is, to me, I think one of the core. Like, yes, we got to get more women in. We got to keep the ones we have, and we're losing people who don't want to leave.
That's right.
But for that issue, so work that into win.
We are,
and then publish a white paper.
Definitely trying to work that into win, and we are just so pleased. Tomorrow we have the photography series, Faces of Construction, that will be here. And this project is all about companies that walking the walk with DE&I. And I'm proud to say that Clark is participating in that. Christine Leonardson from Clark is the woman that is featured, and it's going to be a great gallery tomorrow.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
Thanks,
We look
everybody.
forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us for this and
100%.
telling us your story.
And I think Doreen is coming on this time, so I'm gonna get
We'll
out.
see you
But
soon,
thank
Nicole.
you,
Yeah,
thank you,
thank
Chad.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey.
Come on over. Yeah, please. Come on over. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
We'll make this easy. I'm Chad.
Hi, Chad.
It's good to meet you, Doreen.
Good to see you.
So, Doreen, tell us your story. Who are you? Who you with?
How much time do you have?
Let's well, as much as you need, really. We're just hanging out here with our friends
I see
online.
that. Well, Doreen Bartoldus. I'm a professional engineer and a certified construction manager with Jacobs.
Awesome.
They call me a manager of projects. I have many large infrastructure projects in the New York City area.
Great.
That's what I manage, and a lot of people on them, doing very well. I'm also the immediate past president, national president of NAWIC. I've been with NAWIC for 18 years. So I'm on the national board this year. I'll be finishing up on the national board this summer. My story goes like 40 years, but I started off in high school just drafting and things like that, but I did not go to college right away. I actually married right away and then divorced right away. And then I have a beautiful daughter who's now a phys ed teacher, but I was a single mom raising my daughter. So I continued to work in the construction field, worked for contractors, went to school at night, got my degree. I tell people I started when my daughter was in kindergarten and I finished when she was a sophomore in high school. And I got my degree in civil engineering. And so then I went from construction to consulting. So now I began working for consultant firms, got my professional license, and the story continues.
Awesome.
Why construction?
Why construction? My father was an engineer, and actually my uncle had a contracting company. He was a bricklayer, and they built houses too. And we actually built the two homes we lived in as kids. My father and uncle built. So we were very involved in mixing cement and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what it was. Really, I'm the only person. I'm one of 6 kids. I am the one person who went into engineering and construction. But we all had our hands in the cement mix. But I'm the one who continued on. But I just love it.
Yeah.
So when I was going to school and I did some design within the consulting firm, but I couldn't stand sitting in an office. And so I wanted to be out in the field, and so I stuck with construction.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now it on the project management side, working at Jacobs, which is a huge
company. Yes.
Company. You talk about like what's your day to day in that in that world. Or maybe like year to year. I don't know. Maybe it's easier to describe.
Well, I'm a group leader, so I manage staff. I have about 5 active projects right now, and the staff are split up in different places. And we work with other companies. I have a couple of the big projects we work on are joint ventures. So I will go from project to project. I go to project sites 2 or 3 days a week, and
What kind of projects do you guys work on?
I work on water, wastewater, and also we're doing a resiliency project in New York City, which is a flood wall down on the Lower East Side.
Oh, cool.
With the New York City DDC. And I work also with the New York City DEP and on wastewater construction and water construction, infrastructure, large infrastructure projects. So I have staff on all these projects, and I go, some of them I just manage the staff, and on one particular project in the Bronx, these Hunts Point digesters, these are like $300 million construction, $200 million construction. Anyway, so I'm helping manage the project. I'm a construction manager, so I'm like senior to the staff that's on that site. The other sites, I kind of just go in, check on my staff, and I'm also what they call a project executive on the joint venture boards and things. So my day is filled with speaking with my staff, getting on meetings.
I was going to say meetings. Yeah.
I know.
There's a lot of meetings.
Sounds like your day.
A lot of meetings to move things forward. There's invoicing, construction management, budget, schedule, I'm participating in all that change orders, those kind of discussions, negotiating with the contractors, safety incidents, and hopefully no more safety incidents, that kind of stuff. So my day is full of all of that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a heavy load.
Yes.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
So when did you get involved in NAWIC and why?
I got involved in 2005, I guess it was 2004 to 2005. I actually, at the time, Malcolm Perney, which is now Arcadis, is the company. I worked for Malcolm Perney, and they were getting into a diversity plan, and the construction group, my boss had asked me, go look for a woman construction firm because he wanted to make his initiative women in construction. He only had like 2 women in his 80-person group at the time. So I said, okay. So I went looking for a women's group, and I found NAWIC. And then I joined before my company as a corporate member, but then I just stayed with NAWIC. I tell people I stayed with NAWIC for 18 years. I did not stay with that company, but that company, I stayed with that company for quite a while. But they're still a good company. But I moved on because I've moved on to other things. But NAWIC I've been with almost 18 years now.
So and the company you were with drove that.
They drove me out to look for it, and then once I was a member and I participated, I was hooked.
All right, why? What's the hook?
What keeps you?
At the time I was sort of mid-level in management already. I've already kind of kicked my career into. Of course, my career continued to take, to move forward, but I saw it like, why didn't I find this sooner? Right? I've been out there sort of on my own. So when I met the other women who were in construction, I was just so impressed. I couldn't
thought it was only you.
That was only me. And other project managers and people I could have, women who I could talk to about what I do all day, right? And it's kind of hard. You kind of do need a sisterhood. I could talk to my sisters about stuff, but I couldn't talk to them about engineering or construction, right? So, or my friends, I have friends, but I can't talk to them.
They're not interested. They're like,
yeah.
Yeah, and they're smiling, nod.
Yeah. And then if you're, yes, I had issues. I've been in construction since 1970 something. So, there's been issues along those lines,
right.
So you needed somebody else to talk to kind of, process things. Yeah. What did you do about this? So, but the sisterhood, it just became, really important, and it was very supportive.
So and I think that's what, from my perspective, and you're probably like, duh, but from my perspective,
well, Stacey's
I want to understand what that means to have a sisterhood. What is that about?
Do you have a brotherhood? Do you have guys you hang out with?
I guess I do. I suppose.
Fishing buddies.
Yeah, my fishing buddies. Yeah, you're right. Folks
buddies
that I like to go fishing with, and that kind of thing.
And I think Malcolm Gladwell has something about this. When you're the only person in a room, when you're the only like a minority, or you're underrepresented in a room, something about your voice is not heard. But when there's 2 or 3 of you, your voice is heard. I forget which book it was, but it was probably a podcast I listened to.
Right.
But it meant more to have those other voices and know that you're not crazy, to know, and it gave you. There was also a comfort level too, because one of the things NAWIC did for me, I was able to start. They called them craft talks at the time. I could present in front of my NAWIC women before I started presenting out in the and that was really important. They're very encouraging. They're like, everybody is like on your side. It's your brotherhood. It's your friends. It's your tribe, whatever you want to call it.
I find that most groups of males are not encouraging.
I do too, but hence the need for a sisterhood.
And that actually, really, I'm seriously, as I'm sitting here, that sounds like I do, or at least, an encouraging group of folks. Yeah,
well, my current fiance and me, I probably have said, could you go make friends? He's probably listening right now going, don't use me. But yeah, you need
get out of here.
Go make some friends. Go do whatever, So
it's important.
Yeah, it is important. And he does. He has friends.
And I appreciate that piece of it, but I think what I didn't appreciate until you described it, was that it's a combination. There's a combination of being underrepresented in your day to day, and then going and finding people that made you feel normal, accepted, and supported. And then you kind of had this space where you could like test stuff out with each other, and there's the hook.
Yes,
there's the hook. It's that safety of friendship and support. Love it. Yes. That makes all the sense in the world. And so
I'm glad
listen, I learned. Yeah, Stacey, I'm always having like learning moments. I hope the trick is to not have to learn the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Therein lies the rub. Yes, and it was also, when I was back in the 70s, 80s, or whatever, I'd be sitting there and all the guys would be getting up and going golfing or something. I'm going, I better learn how to golf. And they would never ask me to go golfing. Right? They would never ask. They never knew whether I could golf or not. I did end up learning how to golf, and I would go out there. But that was, to be a part of that, I was kind of excluded just because, right? Yeah. So, to have a sisterhood or whatever to go and say, I'm not excluded from here, it was really important. So.
Yeah. I do want to ask, so there's a lot of other, I guess, men big trips where they all get together. Is there any big national woman event trip that the ladies just get together for the weekend and mingle?
Sure, annual conference. Come on out.
Okay.
We're here.
Yeah, I mean, so this is kind of part of it,
This is part of it. This is a regional function, and this is very good because this helps a lot of people who can't travel all, further away.
Yeah, right.
But we have an annual conference, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun.
So the same thing for inclusivity. Do you invite men to come join any of your events? And do they, or are they intimidated, or how's that work?
You'll have to ask them.
Okay.
Actually, there's a man here from the Veterans Association, and he goes, "This is not what I expected. I did not ask him which way, whether it was negative or positive." I said, stick it out because we need you here.
Yeah.
So yes, men are invited. Okay. Yes.
Talk a little bit about that for a minute. We need you here. What's that about?
He needs to hear that side of, like Nicole mentioned the deputy director before, and the deputy director got up there and she gave a very female point of view of how we manage things and how we're nurturers and things like that. Or I don't think men hear that very often. So it's a point of, he's hearing a point of view he doesn't normally hear.
Yeah.
So, and I think that needs to be heard. That conversation needs to be had more often.
I think men sometimes think they're going to be stuck in a room where women are just going to bash them. So I don't know if you can speak on that. It's like, that's not what NAWIC's about or here for.
No, and a lot of people think that's what it's about. I can't say that nobody ever does. I mean, cause,
it might happen.
But that's not we're here to amplify the women's voices. Like I said, supportive, have a safe space to test out your leadership skills and be a part of a board and understand and plan events and just be a part of this, And then you can take that. I'm not just a member of NAWIC. I'm a member of CMAA, and I've been a member of WTS.
Right.
I've been a member. I was on a local board for CMAA, and so you learn a lot from what you do with NAWIC to bring forward to your job, to your other associations, and I've presented at CMAA because I presented here, and I presented on a job interview because I presented here. So there's a lot of it here to bring to your job, to your position. So that's what we do here. We educate. We're going on a job site tour later, so a lot of women who maybe don't get out on job sites because we're a very diverse organization.
Sure.
And it's great to see what other people are doing in construction, and that opportunity doesn't always come around for women who are just, sitting silently in a corner office somewhere or a little office or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have how early can you be a member of NAWIC? Like, can you be a student?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and actually there was a question recently. Do you have to be 18? And we don't have an age limit really. So you could be in high school and join us as a student member. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. That is cool.
We had a woman in our chapter, Justina. She joined us as a high school member on Long Island. She was a member for like 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So.
That's incredible. So 40 years ago.
Yes, she joined in high school.
That's
And
awesome.
see, now NAWIC was on Long Island, and I lived on Long Island, and I didn't
And you
know
had
that
no
it
idea?
exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got
Well.
on the national board, I changed that.
And we'll finish with this with national board. Talk a little bit about like maybe I don't know the highlight reel of things that you feel like have been the best experiences you've had. With NAWIC, whether that was
You ask such easy questions.
I do. Yeah, I'm known for it. I'm known for it. Yeah.
Okay. Highlight reel for being a national president,
Yeah.
or being on the board in general.
For your sum total experience, like in
My tenure,
yeah.
Well, let me get out my speech.
Yeah.
It's been great. Actually, it's a great experience. Nothing's easy, right? When you're on a board, you have to work with consensus, right? So things don't always go your way, but so you get in a group, and there's about 16, 17 people on the national board, 8 region directors plus your executive committee. But we do strategic planning. And we have our committees, we have our task forces, and you get involved in those. I also was treasurer for a year, and it really taught me the business of an association. So there's a lot of takeaway. Like as I finish up, I realize how much I have learned and how much. Actually, then you take that, you watch politics, and you go, oh, that's why it's still on the legislative floor. So the highlight reel is, as going to president and getting prepared to be a national president by serving on those committees, putting my voice out there, proposing, not legislation, but proposing changes, say, to our bylaws, or proposing something new program. So for instance, right now we're kicking off our NAWIC Leadership Academy. We're going to have our first cohort starting May 8th. So if anybody hasn't signed up yet, sign up today.
Awesome.
And that has been something I introduced in a strategic planning session about 6 years ago. So it's sort of, slowly we put a task force together, we figured out what kind of content we want, and then we finally put out an RFP and put that together. So that took perseverance and focus and, keeping it on the table and saying we need to do this. And it's amazing. So it's out there right now. So go to your
What
LinkedIn.
does the cohort involve?
The cohort is just it's about 20 to 24 women who are going to be part of a leadership education, 8 weeks of education and coaching. And they'll come out with a leadership certificate of some sort. I don't, I'll have to talk to I actually joined the first cohort, so I'll know more when I'm done.
Okay, nice. I'm
looking forward to it for sure. But it's definitely a leadership, and it's focused on women in construction. And that was the dream. So having that kind of impact, bringing your voice to the table and having that kind of impact on the association. So, and what I said to you before on Long Island, I didn't know NAWIC existed. And that was one of the things I came to the board and I said, I don't want NAWIC to be the best kept secret. We need to be out there and outreach to larger corporations. And now I work for Jacobs and I got them on Jacobs got on the billboard. So, and that was another dream of mine and just being persistent and participating in an outreach task force. We then realized we need better marketing and branding. And I don't know if you saw NAWIC 6 years ago, but I'm sure you'll notice it now with our new branding, leading builders, building leaders. And we've been very focused on that, standard branding and marketing. So we've built up, we've strengthened, we've gotten better. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, you've given a lot.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people have. So a lot of women have. So I'm only just standing on their shoulders.
Congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much.
This was great.
Yeah.
Doreen, it was great to get to know you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, great. See you soon. Thank you.
There's a whole audience that's here hanging out live. We have I think one more planned guest.
Yes.
Catherin. Come on over.
Versus the illegitimate children that you'll be interviewing later.
That's right.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? I'm Chad.
I'm Catherin.
Catherin, it's great to see you.
Again.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So you're from New Hampshire.
Technically, I'm from the chapter in New Hampshire, yes, but I live in Massachusetts.
Live in Massachusetts. New Hampshire chapter. You must live in Western Mass.
No, I live in 10 minutes from the Nashua, New Hampshire lines.
Okay, where is that?
It's 30 miles northwest of Boston.
Okay, got it. I didn't realize New Hampshire and Boston were that close.
Oh yeah.
Got to consult a map again.
It's New England.
Chad.
It's this big.
It is. Yeah. I had it. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, it's I guess New Hampshire just based on the accent.
New Hampshire. Yeah. Yeah, New England. No, but I have a lot going on in New Hampshire. I think that's why I joined the New Hampshire chapter, because I was introduced to NAWIC through New Hampshire.
Awesome. So we had a quick conversation about this New Hampshire Career Day.
Yeah, I heard so many great things about it. Like, you're kicking ass with this thing.
Oh, yeah,
so I can't wait to hear about it.
So New Hampshire Construction Career Days began in 2009, technically, but the discussions actually began in 1997. And we based it on a national program, which was called Construction Career Days, and it was actually federally funded at that point. There was a gentleman by the name of Jeff Catherin, still in existence. He's on this side of the Mississippi, up in Rhode Island. And on the other side was Humberto Martinez, who just passed away, unfortunately, last year. And he was on the other side from Texas. And between those two gentlemen, they recruited mostly through the universities of the states, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, et cetera, to embark on this Construction Career Days. And it's a hands-on activities day. So they developed the template, and basically when I was introduced to it, I went, okay, dokie, to reinvent the wheel. We just took what they gave us.
Right.
And because of my influence and participation in New Hampshire, I was able to get New Hampshire adopted the Construction Career Days. It's the 38th state, actually, technically. So what it involves is three sectors: education, public, and private. Okay. And again, 1997 is when I started having conversations with my customers on Stay Safe Traffic Products, which is traffic control, and I work with municipalities and DPWs and highway departments. But I started with a gentleman out of New London, New Hampshire, and he looked at me and goes, in 20 years, we're screwed. We have no workforce. What are we doing to develop this workforce? And I said, you're absolutely right. And at the municipal level, they retire earlier because they get 80% of their, pension or whatever.
Absolutely.
There's no real incentive to stay. So I'm going, don't blink. 20 years goes fast, right? So this is what we did. It took us until 2009 to actually institute something like Construction Career Days, however. And as it was, we were able to get it up and running in the first year that we did it. Well, let me just back up one quick second. There was interest in New Hampshire Construction Career Days. I was introduced to NAWIC in 2008 at this equipment show. And I will tell the story and I'll stick by it. I was at an equipment show as my company, as Stay Safe Traffic Products, and I went under the tent, and there's a woman sitting there, and she had NAWIC in front of her, but what I saw was WIC. And I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, we're selling raffle tickets, 50-50 raffle. I'm just like, women, infant, and children at an equipment show? And literally, that's what it was, because it was a big program in Massachusetts at the time, too. It still is. So I took it as that. Now, that was funny. And she goes, no, we're the National Association of Women in Construction. I said, oh, that's not me. I'm a vendor at an equipment show, but I wasn't a woman in construction.
Interesting.
Because that was I grew up in a construction family.
Right.
My father and mother sold heavy equipment. My parents owned a landscaping company. I'm one of 11 children. I knew construction, but not from that perspective. So that's how ignorant I really was.
Right.
So that's how I found NAWIC. But going back, and the flip side of this is, and I had the public side because I was public works. I had the education because schools are an easy kill. You can find them anywhere, right? Yeah. I didn't have the private, and the private was my funding. And truthfully, that's where NAWIC came in. And now I had women in the private sector who knew how to get money. And it was bing, bang, boom. And in 2009, I threw it at the wall, saw what stuck, and we had 345 kids go through the first year in 2009. That was one half-day program. The next year, we exploded it to 2 half-day programs, and probably got about 500-600 kids between the 2 days. And our last year, 2019, pre-pandemic, we had the largest, which was we put through 1,600 kids in 2 days. And
this is once a year?
Once a year.
When does it
two half
usually
days.
happen?
The last Thursday and Friday of September. Okay. It's all 87 high schools in New Hampshire are invited, and a couple from Vermont. And we have some homeschoolers that are trying to get in. And we have a few others that all of a sudden, they're post grads and this, that, and the other. And What I really want to focus in on, though, I'd really like to get, we have a couple 8th grade classes. We want to get them young, get them early, get them often kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so what these kids do is they come into this arena, they get off the bus, they talk to me. I have a red, white, and blue striped flag hat. They know my hard hat means business. But it's wonderful. We have about, on the grounds, we have over 150 adults. All the exhibitors, all the volunteers, every exhibitor, every volunteer, anybody that is an adult, you see something, say something. Zero tolerance for anything. They screw up, they're back on the buses. And usually I have more trouble with the adults.
Can I ask you really quick about the bus situation? Because I speak to a lot of schools too in the DMV area, and they say logistics is always the hardest part with the buses. So do you have any tips on that?
Well, we've been successful in getting the chaperones to figure out busing.
Okay.
All right. At one point, we gave them the incentive because it's never been about financing it. We did base it 1 year on that, and to boost our female numbers. I said, if you get 10% of your population on your bus to be female, we'll pay for your bus, and it worked. I mean, we did double. I had no school take me up on it, however.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was like, okay, cool. So my brother-in-law happens
So all the girls showed up.
Yeah,
but
we didn't have to reimburse anybody. Yeah.
How funny.
Cool.
Yeah, so we just threw it out there. And my brother-in-law actually is he's an industrial arts teacher, CTE teacher in one of the New Hampshire schools. And of course, he's up for a challenge. So he shows up and he's like, half the bus is full of women, girls, so he's all excited about that. And then we, as a chapter, NAWIC's chapter in Granite State, is we have a Girls Can Too challenge, which we say it's open only to the females. The boys get all wonky on us, as they'll say. But the point being is that if you're coming and you have a female counterpart with you, we say to that boy, if he's getting upset or however, encourage her. You be that guy to encourage her. Don't step in front of her if she's going to get on the excavator. Let her get on the excavator.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. I mean, it really has been awesome. So we put through almost over 11,000 kids all told. And one of the greatest stories that I have too is I was coming back from a NAWIC regional event actually in Saratoga Springs, and I cut through Vermont and I went down through the Granite State and to my home in Massachusetts. But cutting through Vermont, I stopped for gas, and I had on the windshield of my car my sticker for New Hampshire Construction Career Days. I'm not paying attention that that's what's in the back. This kid pumping gas, and he looks right at me and goes, "Best friggin' field trip I ever was on." Like that. And I had no idea. I had no idea what he was even talking about. He goes, "No, Construction Career Days." And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. And I remembered that I had one school from the Vermont right on the border.
That's awesome.
And he was so cool about it. And he was like, no, it was great. And the kids do, they fight for spots. So we opened up our 2023 event for September 28th and 29th just 2 days ago. What is today? Yeah, 2 days ago. I hit the click and sent out my emails, and within 3 hours, we had 1,000 students registered.
That's how do you build that kind of buzz?
Well, I'll tell you, our industry needs it, and it's been falling off a log now because number one, we were one of the first ones to really have something like this, the hands-on, because it's all hands-on. There's not one station that isn't going to have the kids come in and do something. Yep. So it's not like if you've ever been to a trade show of any kind, the adults go through its trick-or-treating. What do you have free on this table? Yes. To be able to even talk to you. Yeah. But these kids literally have to touch, feel, get behind. We've had virtual, training, driving machines of all sides. But we have the real stuff too, up in the pit. We have, how many did we have? 38 pieces of live equipment for these kids to get on. Ooh. From bobcats to backhoes and rollers, and we had a bulldozer. I was like, what is that doing? I was amazed. But what you end up doing at the end is your face hurts from smiling because these kids are just so turned on because they get off the bus as teenagers.
Yeah.
I have to tell them, put the earbuds away, put the attitudes away. You're not here. Don't be, this is not about the food. This is a fairgrounds, but it's not a fair. And then they get back on the bus. They can't wait. Thank you so much. I mean, they're screaming at us. So just really good. And
is there anything that has changed over the years as far as the activities that you?
Oh, it's just increased. Our number of exhibitors have gone from 38 to 100 and I think we had 105 last year,
Oh, wow.
or something like that, very close. And they can be secondary education. Okay, so we have a lot of we have recruiters on site, literal recruiters on site
makes
from
sense.
families and from companies.
Yeah.
Some of them get really creative to get the kids over to their booth. One has that that sledgehammer that rings the bell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So just to get, and then it's male and females doing it.
Sure.
And our welding is just like one of the most popular always because they see the sparks fly.
Yeah,
Anything
they're
that blows
gonna
up, absolutely. And of course, the pit is very, very.
What's the pet?
The pit is where all my live equipment, all our live equipment is going on, and they dig in the dirt.
That's cool.
And we had a company that actually does sheds, like backyard sheds.
Sure.
Reed's Ferry Shed is the name of the company, and they brought on the back of a trailer a shed to teach the kids how to get it on and off, and like the construction. I mean, they do the construction of the shed, the whole thing. I was like, oh my god, it's so creative. From blown-in insulation and wiring something to, plumbing. And we had Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, which is a nuclear shipyard company, one of two in the United States. The other one out in San Diego with dry dock for, subs. And they show up in force. They have 18 people with them, and they teach the kids from robotics, underwater robotics. And they're like, how is this part of construction? Well, think about it. What isn't it touching? So it's those kinds of explanations, like me not knowing I'm in construction and I do traffic control. What does that mean? Well, of course, it's work zone safety. Everything's about safety, right? So anyway, that's what construction career is. The genesis was a national program.
Yep.
The need is obviously there. The continuation and the success of it and the succession going forward is just because it's on a roll now. Everybody's talking about workforce development. You can't get away from it. 20 years ago, that wasn't the conversation.
Yeah.
They were looking at me like, okay, when in 2009, when I first said, no, we're doing this, and I pulled the trigger, it was my personal monies that actually
Really?
had to go into it. I got it back. I have to say that because if my husband ever heard this. No, and it's true. It is true. But up front, the cash flow was on me. And I say that only because I knew it was worth it.
Yeah.
Like anything that you do is, you've had this conversation with everybody today, I'm sure. It's got to be worth it. If it's easy, it ain't worth it. You gotta pay your dues. Going to Rhode Island to pick up, 500 chairs and 300 tables, and figuring out who has a van and who can come with me, and my husband's still with me, so this is good. It's been a big partnership with a lot of people, but there's literally three of us that kick it off and run it, and two, it's a three-legged stool, and two of my legs, they're going into different phases of their life, so I need succession planning on that side too. I need to pick up, and they love it. They absolutely love it, but it's time. And we've got a Granite State chapter that they're asking, what can we do? How can we help? How can we get involved? So yeah, I got a long list for them this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and you found a way to blend, your two different passions, right? Of women in construction and workforce development.
Yeah, and it's also the blending of every sector of construction. So you have public works and you have private. Okay, and those two things right there, you can't do one without the other. You can't start building a building inside city limits without having the public
Support.
weigh in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and or vice versa. Now, my public works guys, they're my crews. I teach work zone safety and flagger training and all that other good stuff, and I know that they're out on the roads every single day. That's their office every single day, and people are flying through work zones and things like that. But it's important for the kids to understand, like they get in the plows. We have a plow rally course. All right. They get in the plows.
That's
and
awesome.
they're the wingman.
Yep.
in the plow trucks. And they're sitting with public works CDL drivers who are out in these routes to understand what a snow day is.
Yeah.
And they're having a blast. They're knocking tennis balls off at cones and, picking up with, it's really cool.
It sounds really cool. And
Yeah.
it sounds like something every state ought to be doing.
Yeah, well, and that's where NAWIC comes in too. We have various versions of Camp NAWIC, which you may have heard already. Certainly what Jennifer Sproul is going to be doing in Maryland and bringing that. And we know that's going to kick but just it's amazing to know that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. We already have a formula.
Yep.
Right.
And you just make your personality of the state that you're in work for it.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
along with accents.
Hey, let's have it.
So.
Enjoying the trivia game, even though we came in last place.
Oh, shoot. Fun was the important part.
The seasoned members. Kat, did you come in first?
No, we tried because no, actually we were first losers because I forgot that Doreen was there. I forgot that you were there, and I'm like, yeah, Sharon was my last region. Director before Jen. Well, she was, but not for all I. And then the woman with 4 kids said the wrong Bob the Builder pledge.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that's what it is.
I totally
And I
screwed
should
that
have
up.
gotten points for the best name.
Yeah.
Trivia is not my strong suit.
No, I try, but
Oh, that was good.
Depends on the trivia.
Because the winners were the bad bitches. Anybody can be a bad bitch.
how are you gonna put
You have
that?
to name your own
Anyone can be a
team.
bad
Yeah,
bitch.
LinkedIn and Facebook.
Hers was the stud finders. I like that, Cat. I do.
The stud finders. That is good. I like that. That's awesome.
Anyway,
Catherin, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank you.
joining us.
I hope it
You're-
helped, and I
Yes.
know I'm going to be right in anybody's pocket. And that's the other thing too. I mean, we've transferred all of this, and transferring skills is a huge thing about what NAWIC does. But we're also transferring these programs and making them as simple as possible. So our main chapter, Maine 276, and Eastern Maine, both of them, they combined. They're doing their second construction career days this year as a result, and it's they're doing it on a half-day schedule, but it's just showing the explosion. And so, like with Jennifer Sproul in Maryland, or with any NAWIC camp that's a little bit different, it's not the same exact as construction career days because it's both male and female for construction career days. But it's don't reinvent it.
Yeah.
Just take it.
Yeah.
And I can consult. Zoom. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm on it.
Doesn't take much.
Yeah, I'll get on a plane in a second, but it's easier for me to just walk into my office
Yeah.
and say hi and make sure everything's
The
good.
recipes here, it works. It's proven. Plug it in. And make it your own, and then who knows? Maybe there's ways to improve on it, and then they feed back or whatever. But yeah,
So
well,
thanks for being
thank you. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this was a lot of fun to talk with you. Your energy is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
right back at you.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you again.
Thank you.
Yep. See you.
All right.
So we've had a chance to I think meet and talk to some pretty cool people.
Yeah.
Just in the past hour plus that we've been doing this.
Really cool stories.
Great stories. To me, eye-opening. Maybe to you, like glad Chad's eyes are getting open, but a little bit. But for sure, it's not something that I think most people are getting exposure to every day. Is this Women in Construction network. Most men in construction should be getting more exposure to this. I feel fortunate to have been given the chance. So
I love how she just brought up too about just being a vendor. Like sometimes you put yourself in a certain category and you don't think you're a woman in construction.
right, you don't
But
think you're in
it's
construction.
very broad and very accepting. So like I'm in marketing and I'm a marketing consultant for contractors. So I don't consider myself a woman in construction, but I'm a woman supporting construction. So
I consider you a woman in construction.
Yeah,
I mean, I really do. Meaning, you're more a part of this industry than you are the marketing industry, aren't you?
very much so.
So, yeah, same. So I'm a professional services consulting firm helping companies with all the stuff that we do, and but I'm a part of the construction industry. I'm a professional services firm,
Right.
but I'm way more a part of the construction industry than I am some vague professional services
And
industry.
most contractors are small businesses and they need that support from service providers like us or just vendors or suppliers. So they don't want just GCs and subs in their group. They need the support from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, as long as my personal experience has been as long as the intention is to actually help the industry
Right.
and not just like try to get a quick sale or something like that, which we've, I've seen all that stuff happen in my involvement in different construction associations where it's,
Yeah, you could tell.
You can tell.
Come up at a networking event and you're like,
it's business card before.
You figure them out pretty quick.
You do, yeah. The business card's out before the handshake even happens, right? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
But that's such a small percent.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Stacey, I think we're safe to wrap this thing up.
I think so too.
I really did enjoy this.
Yeah.
I would also be lying if I said that I wasn't extremely stressed out about background noise and.
We'll have to. I don't know if anybody's listening and still joining us now, but please
let us know if this sucked.
We should have asked in the beginning too. Can you hear us? Is the audio good? But we failed to do that. So
what were we gonna do? Even if they'd have said it's bad, there was nothing to do. We got what we got, and we're live. No, I don't think we'll be deleting it. In fact, I think it's going to end up being a great conversation piece.
Yeah.
Especially once the beeping stopped. I felt bad about that.
I don't know how long that was on.
I can't wait to play it back again. If the audience is like, "There's no beeping," you guys are squared away. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you who are live, for those of you who are watching or listening to the recording, thanks for hanging out with us for the time that we had. Stacey, it was really cool to be in person with you.
I only get to see him in person like once or twice a year.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Let's do this more often.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It was.
All right, cool. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
See you soon.